Welcome back to Cocktails and Classics. This week, we're doing Back to the Future. That's right, Zach has not seen Back to the Future.
What a loser.
I feel like that's equally as bad as Cam having not seen Jurassic Park.
I get picked on quite a bit for it. My wife is a huge Back to the Future fan. Apparently the first two are her favorite. The third one isn't good.
Well,
But this
she's
gets
not-
brought up.
She's not wrong.
she's not wrong.
This gets brought up a ton, and every time, it's like the first time she's heard it. Like, oh my god, and I have to go through it for a half an hour.
But now you've filled her in.
I've seen it.
You're
We
like,
sat down, we watched it.
I know the memes now.
You know when, like, you watch Star Wars for the first time with your dad, and he was kind of looking at you while you were looking at the movie? And like, this is like an Empire Strikes Back. It's coming up. This is it. That was her the entire movie.
Yeah.
I'm Dylan. Joining me as always is Zach,
Hi.
Ben, and Cam.
Hi.
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 Hello there.
To kick things off and get everybody in the right mood, talk about this week's cocktail, the Marty Maker from How to Drink, inspired by the the Enchantment Under the Sea dance?
Yeah.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
So in the Enchantment Under the Sea dance, George McFly is sipping on some punch, and later in Back to the Future 2, you find out that Biff was actually spiking said punch.
Oh, spoilers.
So it's believed that, a little of George's courage came from the liquid courage in the punch. So that's the inspiration for the cocktail. It's 2 ounces of guava juice, 3/4 of an ounce of passion fruit juice, ½ ounce of simple syrup, and 2 ounces of, specifically in the movie, they spike it with early times bourbon. I use some larceny. It's pretty good. It's really fruity, a little sweet, but that really, it cuts through some of the harsher notes of the bourbon, but you still get that like bourbon taste in there. So it's not just like, I feel like a Sex on the Beach, kind of just hides everything. And that one's like super sweet. This one's not quite to that extent where you can still taste the liquor actually. Check the show notes below. Get a recipe for the Marty Maker. Check out How to Drink's video and send us a picture if you make a Marty Maker. We want to see it. And send us your drink and movie recommendations at Cocktails and Classics Pod. And check out Back to the Future. I think last week was June 30th expiration date on Netflix. I think this one is as well.
It is,
So
yeah.
check out Back to the Future on Netflix before June 30th.
Give yourself enough time. Don't wait till the 30th, because what's going to happen is you're going to watch it, and then you're going to be like, oh no, there's 2 more of these, and then you're not going to have time.
It's going to be awkward because this comes out on the 29th.
Oh no!
Get after
So
it,
check it out
Oh, no!
tomorrow. Before tomorrow.
Watch it now! Watch it now!
Back to the Future is a 1985 comedy film directed by Robert Zemeckis, written by Zemeckis and Bob Gale. It stars Michael J. Fox, Christopher Llyod, Leah Thompson, Crispin Glover, Thomas F. Wilson. Currently sits at an 8.5 out of 10 on IMDb. Makes it the number 35 movie on IMDb Top 250. And it won 1 Oscar, was nominated for 3. It won Best Sound Effects Editing, nominated for Best Writing, Best Sound, and Best Music. Yes, Huey Lewis and the News get nominated for an Oscar, as they should be.
Classic.
4 is their most accomplished album. People don't really listen to the lyrics, but they should.
You gonna keep going?
No, I'm good. It's American Psycho, for those that haven't seen that one. It's right before he bashed him over the head with an axe.
I wouldn't call it bashing. But
Okay, slashing, thrashing.
Yeah.
I don't know.
The hash-slinging slasher.
Yes.
Oh man.
I told Cam this. My uncle actually shot the album artwork for the self-titled Huey Lewis and the News album.
No shit.
Oh shit. Well,
Yeah, a little tie-in to me, I guess.
why are we on this podcast with you, not your uncle?
I'll hit him up.
Dylan's uncle will be on our Huey Lewis and the News podcast, which is dropping in September.
Did you just say Hubie Lewis in the news?
Sorry, I just got done watching a really good movie. It was Hubie Halloween.
Yeah, I think we all figured it was Hubie.
We got the hint. Back to the Future is the story of Marty McFly, a 17-year-old high school student who's accidentally sent 30 years into the past in a time-traveling DeLorean invented by his close friend, the eccentric scientist Doc Brown. And he has to get Back to the Future.
So that's where they get the title from then.
Yeah. It's that line where Doc Brown breaks the fourth wall, looks directly into the camera, and says, "Back to the Future." But then he's actually kind of like,
But then he's
looking
like
off
not
camera?
looking at camera. It's like they changed. It's almost like they saw him looking down camera, so they just instead of doing another take and telling
Moved a
him
little bit.
not to do that, they just kind of nudged the cameraman a little bit. It's like, here, move,
they're like, shit, stop, don't look here, don't look here.
Jimmy, move that camera.
I think everyone but Zach has seen this film.
I've seen parts of it. Honestly, when I watched it again, I only had remembered a couple of parts, but I probably haven't seen this movie in literally like 15 years. So
Yeah, it had been a while for me as well. I don't think I've watched this movie in a long time.
Same, it's been a while. I know I had like the trilogy on DVD as a kid, and I watched them a lot. But yeah, it's been a minute since I've watched this all the way through.
Yeah.
I will say there are a lot of scenes that definitely went over my head when I was a kid, like Marty gearing up to pretend to assault his mother. As a kid, I don't know. I feel like I just did not understand that was what was happening, what he was
just
planning to do, basically.
Take a quick second and realize that, when Lorraine was coming onto Marty, can we just understand that was the juice talking?
It's the sauce
sauce.
talking.
The sauce talking?
The sauce talking.
Because
I
that
don't know.
Leah Thompson was the woman in Dinner in America?
I didn't realize that. Okay, so in Dinner in America,
Oh,
I said, "Oh,
yeah.
she's the younger mom."
Yeah.
She's the
She's
mom
both
in general.
moms.
I didn't
Yeah.
know that they're like in just an old makeup.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know that. Yeah, before, but when I watched the movie for the first time now or again, and I saw the old people like them in the, I was like, why do they look so fucked up? And then I was like, oh, because they used younger people and put old makeup on them. They also were like sad sacks in the first part of the movie.
We're just
Like,
interweaving.
this is depressing.
We're
I don't like
interweaving these podcast episodes. So if you guys don't know what we're talking about, go back and check out our Dinner in America podcast.
Something that I thought, because I read the tagline to this movie before I sat down and watched it, and I was thinking, like, 85 to 55. If they were to remake this movie today, it would take place in 1991, which just kind of set me back a little bit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it do be like that. Almost 30 gang, rise up.
I mean, none of us would be born at that point.
I mean, but not by much.
I mean, Marty's not born in the movie either, so I think it would be weirder if you went back and like you were there like as a child.
I think he's just saying that like the 30-year difference seems like a lot in the movie, but then compared to today, it's like
91 doesn't seem that long ago.
exactly.
I guess.
It was
Like
all
as far as like
very-
a technological aspect of that as well.
I just think
I mean,
it's
a lot, yeah.
I think it's just the fact that like when you're seeing something and the drastic changes from 55 to 85, and in our lifetime, I think we've been a part of so many
There would be no cell phones.
technology leaps that were just kind of like
I mean, there'd barely
the
be
passage
computers.
of time. Yeah, it just seems so off that, let's be honest, up until like 2018, everyone thought like 10 years ago was still 1995. Right?
Yeah, that's true.
Well, I think as a society we've advanced so fast in like the last 30 years. As like really like high tech stuff like computers.
yeah.
Oh, I know.
Cell
but
phones.
The thing is,
MP3
I think
players,
the fact that
like-
But it doesn't feel like the 90s or the early 2000s were that long ago.
yeah, and I think it's because we were a part of like learning all of those technologies as they came out, so it just felt like it just kept going. Versus when you really step back and think about it and be like, holy shit, all the stuff that wouldn't be there, how drastic of a change. When you watch the movie, you're like, oh my god. And then when you think about it today, you're like, oh, 91 doesn't seem that long ago. It's like, actually, it fucking is.
Zach, what did you think of Back to the Future on your first viewing?
Yeah, I liked it. It was clearly a lot of fun. There are some very, I think, glaring like plot holes, but overall, from beginning to end, I enjoyed myself watching the movie.
I mean, time travel in general often produces a lot of plot holes.
What was the biggest plot hole? Was it that a young white kid invented black music, or
So there was the part where Chuck Berry gets a phone call and is like, "Hey, Marty McFly just made your career for you." That was a little rough.
Whoa, it's Calvin Klein.
Yeah, sorry, Calvin. The
Like it's like, ugh, that's a gross part in the movie. I wish they had kind of not done that, but whatever.
the big glaring plot hole to me was at the end of the movie. How in the world do Marty's parents not recognize him? How do they not go, "Oh, Marty, that guy from that dance that put us together, that we remembered to like name our second son after him"? How do they not realize that that was their son when he walked into the door, when he comes back to the future?
You know, I don't think that's that
I mean,
big
it's
of a
been
deal.
Or
Time
watching
passing.
him grow up the entire time and seeing him.
And also, like, you have to
day after
imagine
day.
too, like, this isn't a time where there wasn't like Facebook and anything like that. So like, they don't know what this dude looks like. Like, this is just a guy they knew for like 2 weeks back in 30 years ago. Like,
But
I
they
imagine
remember it
today,
vividly. They talk about Biff. They're like, if it wasn't for Biff,
right? But it's
However,
more like a
Marty
it's more
literally
and they know
set,
Biff still.
Yeah, but Marty literally set them up. Like he literally changed their entire lives. Like he played a gigantic part
Also-
in their getting to know one another.
it's not just that, like, let's look at Marty and his mom. It's not just that they went to high school together for 2 weeks. It's that if my dad hit some kid with his car, I would remember that kid.
Yes, but counterpoint, I do feel like it's more like they might have been like, oh, our son kind of looks like that guy we knew back in the day. Because, like, they don't have a picture of him. You know, they can't be like, oh, photo comparison. Yeah, this is your, wait, what? What happened? They might just be like, yeah, he kind of looks like that dude from back in the day, but they, you know, enough time has passed that they're probably not like, wow, that's just him.
Alternate.
they probably had that conversation. George was like, "Huh, man, you really look like the mailman."
Right.
Also,
Wow, you really look like that guy you were crushing on before we met. That's weird, huh?
also, there's the whole maybe Doc Brown just like found a way to wipe their memory or something.
Men in Black style.
I didn't take into account that Men in Black, they would be able to travel to the future, watch Men in Black, come back to the past, discover the Flash technology, and then sure it all up.
There's a workaround, but I do agree. It's a look. I'm not trying to disagree with you. It's a glaring plot hole. There's a gigantic issue of the fact that all of a sudden they don't recognize this person. But there's.
I mean, I think that
they could definitely have just tossed a little throwaway line in there and tied the whole thing up in a bow.
I don't know. I think the bigger plot hole is just their whole perspective on the time travel bit. Because, like, I feel like a lot of different things kind of handle that more in, like, alternate universe type stuff.
Oh, let's get into it. I was wondering how long it was going to take to get into different theories of time travel. Yes, let's get into it.
Guys, if everybody set their clock at the same time,
Like, a lot of comic universes do, like, different time travel universes. Like, literally now, that new Loki show on Disney Plus, like, is literally about time travel, like, straight up. Haven't seen the second episode yet, but
So, yeah, I've heard of that as kind of like you think about it like a tree, and every time you time travel, you start kind of a new branch. You know?
I think that's what.
So
this
what
is
makes
saying.
it weird is he
But
left his old universe. In this movie, he like leaves his old timeline to go back into timeline to make like a new split off. But then when he goes back to the future, does he go back into his original timeline, or is this new timeline that he created by going back in
But
time?
see, what's interesting is the fact that he kind of makes a loop back in. That's the
Right.
thing, is it's not a branch. He doesn't split off to create a new branch. He kind of goes
No.
back and alters the past and then shows up, and then the old him is gone. So it's really like there were two of them that existed for that short span
Split second.
short span of time. And then once the old one leaves in the DeLorean, that's basically the end. Then the new one just takes over, and that's it.
Right.
Yeah, this one is like a
However,
linear line.
However, the weird thing there is that guy the person, this is the weird like mind fuck part of it or whatever. The person that he sees the second time leaving the DeLorean experienced that new life growing up with his new parents. Like, I mean, the same parents, but a whole different life and everything different. I mean,
Yeah.
so, but all of those things still led him to get into the DeLorean and take off. It gets weird.
I mean,
to
well,
me.
you got to consider the fact though that Doc probably still reaches out. In my head, Doc doesn't read the note. Doc doesn't read the note until 85, right? So at that
I'm
point,
sure he read it when he was taping it back together.
yeah, but I mean, what if? Well, that's true. I guess if he tapes it back immediately
Unless
after
he
he
kept the
tears it
pieces,
up.
I guess, until 85.
I don't know.
Yeah.
And maybe that's the thing. Maybe
Okay,
he
so the
regretted it
other
and then
thing, though, is
taped it
that-
together to hold on to read it until 85. But
Right.
you've got to assume he still remembers Marty. He knows who Marty's parents are, so he would still befriend Marty. I mean, there's a lot of things that still line up to the fact that would lead
those
to
still
the
line
same
up. I
point.
get that. But the person who gets into the DeLorean and drives off
Marty.
with like the knowledge of everything that happened after Marty went back in time and intervened. When Marty comes back into his home, he has no idea like that his parents are more successful, that they're happier, that I mean even that he told his mom about like his date on the lake.
He doesn't
or
have
whatever.
that knowledge though. He
Well,
just
that's what I'm
knows
saying.
life
But the person
as-
that he watched get into the DeLorean does.
So that person probably starts a new branch of a timeline.
So I'm saying
we
is
just
like,
don't
is it just
follow
a
that
constant
person.
loop now, like over and over again, where that just like keeps happening, where
Yeah,
he goes back,
It's
in
like
time, comes back with new knowledge. I don't know. It just seems odd.
did you
me.
watch Dark on Netflix?
No.
That one is like that philosophy of like no matter how you go through and you make decisions, the timeline will always loop back around. So it's always the same. The same things affect the same decisions.
See, yes, because that's another interesting thing about it. The timeline is the fact that if you consider time as a loop, then where Marty gets to that point is basically like that has already happened. So like it's going back. No matter what, Marty will always alter the past.
But there was a point in time where he didn't, because his parents met under different circumstances until he went back in time to do so.
But
to
not if
change
time
the
is a loop.
Circumstances.
Then
Right,
it's
but I'm
always
saying there was a
been-
point. There was a point in which he was not meddling in the past, and then in the future he went back to the past to meddle in it, and now it seems like he witnessed it happening. So it's just a constant like loop around. But it started at some point. Like there was never a point where it was always the case where some mysterious person, like that would almost make more sense to me. Be like, oh yeah, this mysterious person came into our lives and helped us out or whatever. But yeah, it was not that way, and then all of a sudden it was that way. I don't know. It's just that to me is one of the biggest like question marks. I mean, I don't think the movie is for that. Like, I don't think that that's the purpose, is to describe time travel in a sane way.
No. Well,
It's
this
more
was
of a
supposed to be a Disney
it's more of a
Channel movie.
fun. Yeah, it's more of an entertaining, fun movie.
that's what I was gonna ask. I know you guys don't always like camp, and I feel like this movie is super campy. Zach, what did you think about the camp factor?
It's definitely high on the camp factor. It wasn't unbearable though.
So it's not Steven
there were some
Spielberg levels
scenes-
of camp.
Yeah, I mean, you could tell he was producing it and not directing it. If that
I was
makes
going to
sense.
say,
Oh.
because Spielberg was attached, so watch where we go with Spielberg levels of camp.
The scene in the when Marty first goes back in time, he's in the diner, and you basically just relive the entire scene that just took place in the future with Marty and Biff. I was like, oh my lord, this could end. We could just stop this whenever, and Marty could just look over and go, oh, you look like my dad. What's your name, man? Oh, my name is George. Oh, it's my dad's name.
You look like my loser father.
We could have easily eliminated some camp. But it wasn't overbearing.
So I think that's the adult take on it, and I feel like the fact that this movie was made for families was literally done to be like, hey, let's paint this to be super fucking obvious so that kids can't be confused watching it.
Yeah, I definitely see what you're saying. This movie has got those layers like you expect in a family movie where there's stuff like that for everybody but aimed at the kids. And then there's other things. Like when Marty's mom tries to grope him at the dinner table, um I don't know who that was for.
So I loved the bit in this movie that it's a very reoccurring joke is when Marty has the vest on in the past, and everyone's always like, "Oh, would you fall off the boat? Oh, you're a sailor. Oh, what?
Why do you have a life preserver on?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that joke. It just keeps happening to him.
What I love is the like I said, we talked about how this movie has like the layers to it. And I love that when they're first sitting around before Marty goes back in time, they're sitting around the dinner table and talking about how her dad almost hit Marty's dad with the car. They're like, "Where did you come from anyways?" And then in the movie we found out that he's trying to be a fucking creep and
Yeah,
then
he's a peeping
falls out of the
Tom.
fucking
My dad's a peeping
and then
Tom.
falls out of the fucking tree. But the best part is when they're sitting around the dinner table and she asks, and he just basically like tries to ignore the question and comment about the TV show because he doesn't want to say what he was fucking doing.
Oh, I
just
was gonna
love that
say
bit.
the line that the dad has, and he's like, "Stella, there's another one of these kids out in the street." Like it happens all the time. It's like, oh my god. Maybe you just have to.
Situationally, can we talk about 1955 dad logic? Because I get the feeling if you hit somebody with your car, you think as a kid, you think you hit like a high schooler with your car, he's knocked out. Maybe you don't carry him up to your daughter's bedroom and then leave him there for 9 hours to wake up.
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah,
you go to the
I
hospital
think- I
instead.
think-
Yeah, it definitely
think
is like a,
Concussion
I'm gonna hide
101
this crime.
I think Concussion
this
101 is don't let them go to sleep. Because that's when people
Yeah.
die.
Yeah, he definitely had. I'm gonna pretend. I'm gonna hide that I hit a boy. Crime.
Sweep this
I
under the
found
rug
this
real
kid
quick.
I found this kid in the street. He was just sleeping it off.
I'm just saying, if that were me and I hit somebody and I was predetermined that I was going to make this
Sheila,
not
get the
known,
shovel.
Yeah, I'm not putting them in my daughter's bedroom.
One.
He's going in the basement, chained up with the rest of them.
Oh,
You want to talk about chaining people
Okay.
up in your basement and incriminate you? That's fine. You know what I loved about this movie was the amount of people in the cast that I recognized from other things that dawned on me who they were. Like Billy Zane being one of Biff's goons.
What?
This is his first movie.
Yeah.
Wait, which one was he?
Match.
Match. He's the one that looks like Billy fucking Zane.
or like that
Oh,
guy.
okay, I see him. Oh, he's got the match
Michael
in
J.
his
Fox. And all that other stuff he did after this movie.
Teen Wolf.
The guy who played Mr. Strickland, the teacher.
He's in a lot of stuff.
If anyone has seen Top Gun, he's the commander who sends Goose and Maverick to Top Gun. I kept watching and I'm like, man, this guy looks really familiar and I can't remember from where. And then it dawned on me that that's 100% where he was from. He's been in just a bunch of stuff. He's one of those just actors that's in everything.
We've seen a couple. We've seen a couple Christopher Llyod movies on the pod. I think
Yes.
at least
Yeah.
one or two.
Food Fight.
Flew Over?
Yeah, he was the.
Was he in Food Fight as
yes,
well?
he was
Yeah, he's
Brand
Brand
X.
X.
the like
Oh
he's
my
the
God.
guy who
So
walked,
that I
like,
guess
walked all goofy.
He was also, of course, in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
No. He was in Food Fight, his biggest role. Yeah, I think the thing about this movie is that there wasn't a star in this movie. Like Michael J. Fox, I think was like one of the biggest names, and he was in what was it, Family Ties, or what show was he in?
Yeah, some
He was
TV
in
show.
Family Ties.
Family Ties.
That
yeah,
was
like
the show he was in.
that was his like, that was him. Christopher Llyod was in Taxi before this, but other than that,
Well, Christopher Llyod had already done One Flew Over in that, right?
Yep. Also, Christopher Llyod was in two bangers in 1985. He was in this movie, and he was in the movie Clue as Professor Plum.
Ooh.
which I haven't seen Clue in a while, but I remember that being a good
How about we
movie.
go ahead and transition this to Christopher Lloyd's nephew, Sam Lloyd, rest in peace, was Ted on Scrubs.
Scrubs talk.
Oh, yeah. Wow. I never
What?
put that together.
Yeah. Well, that's why people tune into this podcast. For useless
Ben's-
pieces of information.
Now that you say that, he looks so like him, even though it's his nephew. Like, it looks so much like him.
Yep. You're welcome.
Hang on, guys. I'm going to rope in the younger generation real quick. Do you know what I noticed after watching this movie, guys?
I don't.
Everything is referenced from Back to the Future.
Well, that, but also, this is basically Rick and Morty. Like, this is the...
Oh,
This
is the
Zach, you
precursor
sweet,
to Rick
you
and
sweet
Morty.
summer child.
It kind of is.
Rick
yeah.
and Morty started as an internet short called Doc and Marty.
That's true. Yeah.
Justin Roiland literally made a short called Doc and Marty, and then someone wanted to make the show, and they changed it to Rick and Morty.
Yeah.
Zach's mind is just fucking blown right now. He's just like, wait, what? That was a
Well,
thing?
fuck me then. Never mind.
So you knew the lore. I didn't realize. I was speaking to someone who knew the gospel.
I was there when it was written.
You have to be really smart.
sacred.
You have to have a
Taste
200
Rick and Morty.
IQ to
You
understand.
really
You have to read the manga before you watch the anime. On the theme of that, though, it makes sense in Rick and Morty because they're related, but
Yeah.
I want to know how they became friends. An old man became friends with a high school
Yep.
boy.
Give me the prequel.
Well, you
Disney
see,
Channel.
Cameron.
I need to see it.
Time is a loop. And back
No,
in
but before,
1955.
No.
No, this is what you're not understanding.
A young boy, Marty
This
McFly,
is
met.
what you're not getting. So maybe the last time Marty, or the first time Marty went into the loop, he actually does. Marty's plan is going perfectly to plan. He's in the car with the mom, and all of a sudden he gets pulled out and popped. Boom. Maybe in another time. Marty pulls George out of the tree. George falls in front of the car, and that's how they meet. Boom. So, but in every version, they meet in 1955, and that's where Marty and Doc meet.
But in order for that to be true, they have to have met first in 1985 to travel backwards in time.
Not necessarily. Time is an infinite loop.
No, yes, necessarily. How not necessarily?
Time is an infinite loop. They always
That's
meet
not
in
how it
1955.
works. I mean, that's not how any of it works. It's all made up, but like, it doesn't make any sense.
Here's an interesting fact that I just saw on IMDb real fast. Alternate versions. Spanish dub version refers to Marty as Levi Strauss instead of Calvin Klein.
That's funny. I wonder why.
Yeah.
Maybe their jean brands are more popular there. The Joe Clans better.
I noticed your jeans had your name on them. Like, who puts their name on their pants and not their underwear?
Maybe they wanted to switch from jeans or underwear to jeans.
Less raunchy.
Yeah. I mean, it really could be. Or that's just a more popular brand there. Maybe they didn't have Calvin Klein.
So any quotes, scenes that stand out? I mean, this is like probably one of the most referenced movies. I feel like it's up there with Casablanca as far as that.
Yeah, the entire time I was watching this movie, I was going, "Oh, this is where that's from? Oh, this is where that's from. Oh, this is where that's from?"
Roads? Where we're going, we don't need roads.
Yeah, that exactly.
Yep.
My wife looks over at me. I'm like, "Wait, that comes from here? They weren't referencing it about something else?"
Nope.
Ronald Reagan, the actor?
That
Well,
one's a classic one.
with portable cameras, no
Timeless
wonder you need an actor as president.
I think that's what this movie does a good job of. It's like referencing back to other things. Like you have a portable camera. Like, the president must be an actor.
Right.
The
and
peeping
and
Tom.
especially the Reagan thing is funny because, of course, he was president when they made the movie,
Yeah.
so it would have been like way more impactful back in the day. You know, that'd be like if someone made a movie today and it was like referencing
The guy
I
on
don't
The
know, Joe
Apprentice.
Biden
or
in
if they
some
made
way.
a
Or-
movie
or Trump.
or if they
Parks
made a
and
movie a couple years ago and they were like, who's the president? Donald Trump? The guy from The Apprentice?
Or the
The guy in Home Alone 2?
the millionaire in New York. What?
I also love when McFly goes in and he's like, "I am Darth Vader from the planet Vulcan."
That was hilarious. Yeah. Is Great Scott in this one, or is that in
Yeah,
it too?
that's in this one. Great
Yeah, they
Scott.
say it a lot in this one.
Okay.
And the 1.21 gigawatts.
Which irks me because I don't think anyone would say it gigawatts. It's definitely
So,
gigawatts.
In some research for the movie, it used to be pronounced gigawatts. Then there
When
was
did
a
it
cultural
switch?
movement where they just stopped calling it gigawatts and started saying gigawatts.
Okay. Yeah, because I watched that and I was like, gigawatts sounds gross. I'm not going to lie. I think gigawatts sounds a lot better.
You know, I think it's gigawatts because I'm also a firm believer of GIF. So,
And Girage.
and it just backs my
And gigabyte.
yes, gigabyte.
Jesus, you guys, it's a wonder this podcast is even made. Which is a reference
Anyway.
to a quote from the movie, which is when Marty watches his dad being a complete doofus and says, "Jesus, George, it's a wonder I was even born."
Yeah. That was another plot hole. How did that, how did that sad sack end up with that person? They explain it, but
Stockholm Syndrome.
I liked the quote where Marty and Doc are talking about his mom. And they say, "Whoa, wait a minute, Doc. Are you telling me that my mother has got the hots for me?" "Precisely. That's heavy." There's that word again, heavy. Why are things so heavy in the future? Is there a problem with Earth's gravitational pull?
yeah, because I think a minute or two prior, he says something about it being heavy, and he was like, it has nothing to do with weight.
I love so much of the parts with Lorraine's parents when Marty's there with his grandparents. Like this kid's an idiot, comes from an upbringing. His parents are also probably idiots. Lorraine, if you ever have a kid who acts that way, I'll disown you. The
Yeah,
complete
that's a good
irony.
one.
Or the part where Marty goes up to the crib.
Oh,
And
yeah. You're
it's
my Uncle Joey.
Joe, who's always in prison.
Better get used to these bars now.
And then the mom's just like, yeah, every time he gets out of that crib, he just cries and cries.
Yeah, or she's like, "Do I know your mother?" Like, it kind of.
I think you do.
Great one that I knew from memes, but I actually had to piece together that it was from Back to the Future, was Marty saying, like, I guess you guys don't like that, but your kids are going to love it. It's the quote, something like that.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
done with the massive guitar solo.
It's about, the metal-ish, solo he does, heavy rock. And they're all like, what the fuck are you doing? I really wish the DeLorean had become more than just, that car. I feel like it could have been kind of cool in the to see how it would have evolved over time, you know?
But rather
we
than
just got
just
that
the time
classic
machine.
car.
Wasn't the DeLorean already not super popular when this movie came out?
I think it was well known, or I don't know if it was well known, but I'd have to look. But I mean, he remarks in the movie how he made it. He's like, "Oh, a DeLorean, cool." And then he's like, "Yeah, if you're gonna make a time travel device, why not make it in a cool ride or something like that?"
So I believe
Yeah,
you can
it
still
was
buy
only-
DeLoreans.
It was only in the American market from 81 to 83. Because I don't think literally DMC I don't think lasted at all. The DeLorean Motor Company only lasted for 2 or 3 years. So they were they were well done before this movie even brought them to. In fact, if it weren't for this movie, no one would know what the fuck the DeLorean was.
That's probably true.
Yeah.
I mean, this movie came out in '85, so it's not like it was 10 years later, but it was a couple years after.
No, but they
had
were
gone
already defunct.
under. Yeah.
Am I getting memed? I'm on the DeLorean website right now, and it says they have cars coming soon.
What? No, are you?
I'm on their
DeLorean?
Wikipedia page, and it says
What is
You're not looking at
Wikipedia
McLaurin,
now?
right?
Anybody can edit that.
You're not looking at McLaurin, right?
No, it's DeLorean.
Are you spelling it right?
Yeah, DeLorean Motor Company.
It's got a fucking car on the front of the website. I hope I'm spelling it right.
that's interesting because they went bankrupt in 1982.
Well, it says 2021, all rights reserved. Powered by AAN, All Auto Network.
So I wonder if they just bought the patents to the design and everything.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it looks
just-
like this is just a. It looks like this is just a website for reselling currently like DeLoreans in circulation. It looks like because if you look at the buy cars, it says coming pre-owned and coming soon. Yeah, like if you look at the pre-owned selection, it's like they have VINs and like the year of production and stuff like that.
Well, apparently, in 2016, the DeLorean company announced that they were going to come out with a new DeLorean, the DMC-12, but something to do with like legalese and the government
So-
is holding up their ability to make them.
Yes, I am on the Wikipedia page still. So in 1995, a British car mechanic created a separate company based in Texas using the DeLorean Motor Company name. Wynn acquired the trademark on the stylized DMC logo along with the remaining parts inventory of the original DeLorean Motor Company. After the passage of the, I don't know what the hell, Low Volume Vehicle Manufacturing Act, DMC Texas announced that it planned to produce replica DeLoreans. It anticipated building approximately 50 vehicles a year over 6 years with an estimated retail price of $100,000. DMC Texas encountered hurdles such as reproducing parts no longer available from new old stock and finalizing an engine supplier. In January of 2021, the NHTSA issued a final ruling to allow low-volume vehicle manufacturing. So it looks like as of this year, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration allowed for low-volume vehicle manufacturing. So they probably will start remaking them later this year.
Interesting.
So they're coming back. Get in it now. Buy that
I'm not saying I want the exact
DMC
DeLorean
Texas
car
stock
though.
while it's still low.
Something a little updated, you're saying?
I vaguely recall a bunch of features on the DeLoreans that were like way ahead of its time.
Yeah, the gull wings.
I mean, they have the gull-wing doors. I think there's other stuff too, but I don't
flux
remember what it
capacitor?
is off the top of my head. But yeah, the flux
Oh, that was
flux
another thing that I
capacitor.
realized came from this movie. Just the whole flux capacitor thing. I knew of
Yeah.
the term flux capacitor. I had no idea what the hell it
Do you know
was.
if you look on, I think it's O'Reilly's website, you can buy a flux capacitor quote. Like it's actually a SKU listed on their website.
Nice. I'll put one in the Civic.
We're gonna hit up some ads. We're gonna come back. Zach will put us through a trivia quiz. You know we love saving the turts. You know Cam hates fucking paper straws.
Paper straw song.
Sock.
I will say that paper straw technology has improved since I last shat on paper straws. I have used a couple since I've been able to go out more recently due to being vaccinated, and
That's what they were doing the whole time while we were inside. They were just inventing better paper straws.
I have seen also not paper straws, but it seems like they're compostable plastic straws or something. Like
You're talking about the
like,
ones
they
that
feel
are made out of
different.
like agave or whatever.
I have no idea what the composition of these straws are. I'm just, but they are different.
I'm not
than
a
the
straw
normal ones you
expert.
see. But you're the expert, Dylan.
But I do know a good glass straw when I see one, you know?
Yes. I will say for being at home and where you know, maybe you like straws in your fruity margaritas or you like straws to mix with your, you know, old fashions or whatever. You know, having these straws around the home is really nice. Not constantly like throwing things away, or you don't have to keep buying straws all the time. Like you just buy a couple and then you're good.
And if you want cocktail picks or muddlers, they have that too. There's many colors. He's getting into like designs. So like the pride flag, he puts it on like the side of the straw. He's got hearts. He's got critters. It's like you get a piece of art along with a straw. Little multi-use.
Oh yeah, he has critter straws, which have see a dolphin, a salamander. That salamander looks intricate. That is impressive.
Grab some glass straws from Surfside Sips. Use promo code cocktails and classics spelled out for 20% off. We get a little kickback from that, and you get to save some money on some glass straws, and they should last you a long time. Dishwasher safe. They're pretty sturdy. Just don't drop them on the floor like me, like a big idiot. You have to buy more. Each episode, Zach watches movies. He analyzes them. looks up a little trivia, and then tests us if we paid attention and what we know. Zach, what do you got for us on Back to the Future?
Question numero uno. In the opening scene where you see all the clocks slowly scrolling past, how many of the clocks do not read 7:53? A, 1, B, 2, or C, 3?
Wow.
Weird.
This took a bit of pausing.
So it was just like an error?
Or maybe like it was like an old clock or something.
Yeah, I'm not sure why it made it in the film. I will say there were a couple trivia questions that came up. So peeling back the curtain, my process, I try to come up with trivia questions or like ideas for them the first time watching through the movie, and then I'll go back and get details. So I did that for a few trivia questions we have today. And then when I need a few extra, I'll go to IMDb's trivia section. I got a little pissed off because a lot of the ones that I worked really hard to get are in the IMDb trivia section.
Wow. I'll say 3. I'll go with the biggest goof in that regard.
I'm gonna say 2.
Just do it, Cam.
I will
Just say 1.
Also, no, I don't want to say 1. I feel like 1 is so boring of an answer.
But
I'm
it
gonna
might
say
be the correct.
2 as well. Well, no. I'll say 3. There are a ton of clocks. I'll say 3.
There are a ton of clocks, and there are 3 in the room that say 7:53. However, you don't see the third one until Marty goes and visits Doc afterwards. It's a broken clock on the floor. So in the opening scene, there's only 2.
Ah, damn.
God, you love to hear it.
There's actually some really cool clocks in this scene. There's one that's like backwards. It goes 1 to 10, but it goes backwards. It's like the answer was almost 3. I had to go back and rewatch it. I'm like, all right, yeah, I guess that's just a weird clock. Question numero 2. When Marty is sent back in time, you can hear Mr. Sandman playing by the Four Tops. As Marty passes a record store, you can see the original release cover for Mr. Sandman. With what group on the cover? A, the Temptations, B, the Chordettes, or C, the Four Aces?
Ben
I'll go
knows
last.
this. God damn it.
You're damn right I do. Love this fucking song. I was just listening to it earlier today, in fact.
I'm 90% confident it's not the Temptations. What are the other 2?
The Chordettes or the Four Aces?
I think it's the Four Aces.
I think it's the Chordettes.
It is 100% the Chordettes. It's an all-female group.
Tis. It is the Chordettes. So Ben is dominating. Ben has got 2 points.
This
so we
is
have to stop him
whoa.
on the
This is
third
what
one.
happened last week with Scarface, though. Ben went up 2 to 1, and then I came back and won. So let's
true.
repeat what happened last week right now
So you're saying you want to go back?
to
The
the
past.
past. The title always confused me, like Back to the Future, because I'm like, but he goes into the past, but then I'm like, all right, okay, I get it, I guess. Like he's
Because
got
the
to
whole
go.
movie's about him trying to get
back
back
to
to
the-
the future. Yeah,
I always thought it was like weird because it's like, but he's in the past.
All right. 1985, the movie was released, and mainland China banned it immediately because A,
I know it. I know this one.
it disrespected history, B, it glorified Western culture, or C, because of Ronald Reagan's trade policy.
Ooh.
Can you repeat them? I didn't hear the answer I was
A,
expecting.
it disrespected history.
No, I think
I know this one. I know
believe-
it. Wait, hold on.
I think what I'm thinking is still correct. I just think it's phrased in a different way in the question. So what are the answers?
A, it disrespected history. B, it glorified Western culture.
Okay.
Or C, because of Ronald
All right.
Reagan's trade policy.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
I know what answer I'm picking.
So
I could be dead wrong.
Cam, I think, is thinking
but-
B.
Well, we'll find out, won't we? I'm not gonna go first though, because I don't know which. I don't want to give it. I think Ben has to go first since he's winning.
I'm gonna say A. They're not big on time travel over there.
Damn it. That's
Yeah,
what I was
I-
gonna say as well.
I believe the answer is A because I distinctly remember them banning movies that had time travel in it.
I also think it's A, but To try and go for a tie here, I will say it is Ronald Reagan's trade policy.
It is their big ban on time travel
Yep.
movies. They said time travel movies disrespect history. The movie is no longer banned in mainland China. So
Yeah,
you
I
can
was
watch it
when
now.
you read the answers, I was like, "Oh, it's definitely time travel. It's time travel. That's the reason they banned it." And then I did not hear the words time travel in any of your answers, and I was like, But no, the A makes sense. Yeah.
You know what that means? You gotta get them brooms out.
It
Gotta
means
get them
that
brooms
next week
out.
Ben's going 0 for 3. That's what that means.
You're damn right.
The time-based question was, how long did it take for Einstein and the DeLorean to return from their initial DeLorean ride back into the past? It's 40, 60, or 80 seconds. On the dot, one of these three.
Like
Oh.
as far as like runtime or
Yeah, like I set a stopwatch, did it twice to make sure it was accurate, and then saw the answer on IMDb trivia and got pissed off.
I mean, it should be 60 seconds, but I guess since it's a trivia question, it's probably less.
no, it's probably 80.
What?
No, I think it's 80.
Wait, what were the answers?
40, 60, or 80.
40, 60, or 80.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Then I guess it
They left at 1:20 a.m., arrived back at
1:21
1:21 a.m.
Yeah.
according to the
Then I
script.
guess it would be.
But was it true?
You know what? I feel like I vaguely recall him leaving right before 1:20, so I guess it would be 80 seconds, maybe. That could be total bullshit. Who knows?
It's 80 seconds.
Okay. All right.
According to Doc Brown, everything goes well. For like, all right, they left at 1:20 a.m. and that's when the stopwatch starts, and then when they get back, it's a full 80 seconds later.
But it was instantaneous.
Take that, movie inaccuracies.
It's instantaneous for Einstein.
All right, Ben's the winner. He swept me. I'll sweep him next week.
It's not fair. You gave him a question about oldies fucking music. That's gonna happen.
But I also got that
Well, I
one right.
mean, the
Ben should
It's
just
sort of
get
a
in a
movie detail,
DeLorean
you know?
and travel back to 1955,
If it weren't
where
for
doo-wop
the
music
obnoxious,
is still a thing and racism's well and alive.
if it weren't for the obnoxious
Just
racism
Ohio
and
things.
rampant sexism, I would take you up on that
Oh
offer.
my god.
you'd be able to make a living betting on World Series.
Hey.
I'd bet a
That's the
shit
plot
ton
of
of
one
money
of
on
the
the
other
How do you
70s
know that?
Dolphins.
How do you know that, Zach? You haven't seen Back to the Future 2.
I haven't seen a World Series either.
What? That's
No, they
literally
talk
the
about it in
plot.
this
I don't know if
movie.
you're memeing, but that is literally the plot of like I think 2, right?
Yes.
Yeah, but they talk about it. Doc has a line
They
where he
do.
says, "I would go back and bet on the next 25 World Series."
Yeah, and the second one, they get a book from the future, and then I
An
think
almanac,
Biff
yeah.
ends up actually getting it in the
That's right.
present, and then like is betting on all the future ones.
You kidding me? I would do so much things to make a shit ton of money. I'd bet on teams. I'd throw a shit ton of money into Apple stock.
Yeah.
And Doge
Well, only on a specific time frame in Doge.
at the right time.
Those of us who have seen it wrote down our ratings before time. We have some nostalgia that we bring into this movie, and we're going to give you an updated rating. Zach's going to give us a fresh rating, though, because he's never seen this movie. So, Zach, lead us off. What did you think of Back to the Future?
I thought Back to the Future was a ton of fun. There are plot holes. I think we've addressed all of them. But from end to end, it's a really fun movie. You sit down, you throw it on. This is definitely a movie that will get added into my rotation of, oh, I'm doing something else. Let me throw on Back to the Future. It's not like the greatest thing I've ever seen, but I think a 7 out of 10 is appropriate. You know, it's a really fun family comedy. It's clearly iconic. There's so many famous quotes and just situational things that happen in this movie that I understand why it's so popular. I get why it's so high in the IMDb top 250. But you know, it's not perfect. There's things that are wrong or could have been better. Aside from the whole time travel issue, whenever you introduce that, you got problems. But I'm going to leave it at a 7 out of 10.
I agree with a lot of the points you had, Zach. Going in, I give it a 7 out of 10. I'm going to leave it there going out. I think this is just a solid classic movie. If you haven't seen it, I think you need to watch it. I think it's just an amazing movie. But I feel like it kind of falls into that, like, Jurassic Park, Indiana Jones, where it's really good. It's a classic. I would watch it anytime it's on. But is it amazing? Is it like groundbreaking and like in that 9-10 range? No. It has a few plot holes. It has that camp factor, but I wouldn't drop it below a 7. I think it is well made, well done, stands the test of time. Besides that one little plot line we talked about, that's literally just a throwaway line that you could cut from the film, and then you wouldn't have that weird Johnny Be Good like was brought to us by Michael J. Fox. We could cut that entire not great bit right there with just that one line, just that one shot back to Chuck Berry's brother. But
if we could go back into the past,
we could.
To Back to the Future.
You don't even have to go back to the past. You just have some dude go and edit that little clip out, and then it's done. 5 seconds of film. Movie has no tarnished reputation. Yeah, I don't know. Watch it. If you haven't seen it, I don't know what you're doing with your life.
Yeah, this is, I think, one of those movies that I'm not going to give a 10, but will still tell you it's a must-watch movie. I can't believe how in sync we all are, because going into this movie, I had it at like a 6, and leaving, I bumped it up to a 7. This is a good look. This isn't an Oscar movie. This isn't a movie that's going to make you think. This is a movie that you could just, you turn on, you just sit back and kind of have fun with it. Take this movie for what it is. It's a family movie. There's stuff in there that kids will enjoy. There's stuff in there that adults will catch that kids won't. There's stuff kind of for everyone for this movie. If you haven't seen it, definitely check it out. There's so much that comes from this movie that you're going to just kind of be amazed by. Yeah, 7 out of 10 for all the reasons you guys have already mentioned.
I did like this movie. I mean, I can't really say anything that you guys haven't said. I went into it having not seen it in a while. It didn't make a great impression on me when I first watched it, so I thought this was like a 6. Honestly, I'm gonna bump it to like a 7.5. I really enjoyed it. It doesn't take itself too seriously. The time travel thing is kind of weird, but I think it's kind of fun to speculate on it and not get too wrapped up into the precision of the time travel aspects of the movie, because that's not really what it's about. So I'm gonna give it a 7.5, and I'm good with that rating. I think it's an enjoyable movie.
Closing words. I am shocked this movie has not been remade yet, especially with all of like the fanfare for the 80s going on. I'm kind of really surprised we haven't gotten like Back to the Future, the prequel, or even just a complete redo of Back
or
to the
literally
Future.
just a movie called like Doc Brown, and it's literally just about Doc before he meets Marty. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think it would be fun, because like I think he literally says when the time travel works, he's like, "This is my first experiment that actually works."
Now, I don't know what you're talking about. I feel like there's a whole CBS sitcom that could run for about like 6 seasons that people would love.
Young Doc Brown.
Just about Doc Brown's
Brown.
failed experiments. Guarantee it.
Bazinga! If you enjoyed
If you enjoyed this podcast,
don't forget to rate and subscribe.
leave us a like, a comment, a review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts.
Check us out on Instagram.
And you stay classy, San Diego.
Don't forget to drop us those drink pictures. We look forward to seeing them. Don't forget to send us some movie recommendations. We'd love to hear what you want us to watch.
Next week we got Total Recall, or Rickall,
Total Recall.
as a reference back to that Rick and Morty. Hey, see.
What the listeners don't know is all of our episodes have tied together. Like, that's how we know what movie we're doing next.
Share us with your friends and family. And as always, watch responsibly.
That last part was not true, guys. We don't tie all of our movies together.